Assalamu alaikum, this is Dr. Usman Qayyum with another episode of Let's Talk. Today we have a very special guest, Jannat Ali. She's a transgender activist and an artist. But instead of myself, let me have her introduce herself.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Hello everyone. So yes, I'm Jannat Ali, and as you said, I'm an artist and activist. So I call myself artivist, which is a new terminology. And other than that, I'm also running an organization called Track T, a track for the transgender community. So Track T, we are working on activism for transgender rights, also taking care of cisgender community members, and we are working on advocacy and capacity development, and also economically empowering transgender community.
Very interesting to hear that. We have a lot we can talk about. Obviously, acceptance in society, societal norms. What are the things that you are doing in terms of activism, not only in Pakistan, but now worldwide? We were just talking that you were in Canada recently, you were in the US, and very well received there. But I'm a psychiatrist, so I think I'd like to stay with a few issues that would be very helpful for myself, for our viewers, to understand and hopefully translate into, because like other aspects in psychiatry after COVID-19 and the changing world, there's a lot of focus on mental health issues in general. So let me ask you this, Jannat, what is your sense of what are the mental health needs of the transgender community in general? And are they different from any other human being or any one of us?
First of all, I think when I compare the mental health issues, I think the transgender community is more vulnerable as compared to female and male, because there is no acceptance of transgender from the beginning. Being a child, parents are your first institution, your first school. So if they are not giving space to their child, it means they are shattering the confidence level of their children. And gradually, being a transgender, if I'll share my own story, I was feeling that there is a disconnection of emotions which were attached with my parents towards me. I gradually start feeling that my parents, they are not giving me that importance, that attention which they are giving to my other siblings. So again, fear of losing parents, and then there is no acceptance, and then whatever I am doing, whatever my gender expression is, I am feeling resistance. I am facing resistance, resilience, and a shout from my parents. They wanted to mold me and fold me according to the predefined boxes which are defined for male and female. So they wanted me to walk like this, talk like this, don't do this, because they are not aware of gender diversity. Most of the parents, they are not aware of, and if the transgender child is born in a society, so people they are more conscious what other people will talk about. They are more conscious about what other people will say. They don't try to listen what their child actually feeling, and what pain and what dual life you are forcing your child to live. So basically what happens in our religion also, people, in every religion, I see the truth is the basic component. We should speak truth, So when we as a child try to tell the truth about our gender identity, then why the society is not ready to listen us?
So you got a feeling that you were not heard?
No, I got feeling that I am not a boy. My self-perceived gender identity is a trans woman. I identified myself as a woman because a lot of people don't know what is transgender. So if you allow me, I can also explain.
Certainly. I think that's a good place to start. I think there's still a misconception about transgenders in our society, not only in Pakistan. but I feel I practice in the US. I think there's a lot of misconception there. Maybe you can talk a little bit about educating all of us.
Yes, I think it's really important. The first problem is the communication gap, because people, I also, as an activist, advise my community members that we should end this communication gap. They never
Right.
got an opportunity to talk with us, to sit with us, and
Sure.
unfortunately, they don't know how to initiate the conversation. What are the transphobic questions? What
Sure.
are the ways to be a trans ally? What are the ways how we can initiate our conversation if next person is a transgender?
Sure.
So first of all, I think I should tell people that what is a transgender. So if our biological sex is different than our self-perceived gender identity, that person is a transgender person.
Sure.
So if my biological sex was a male, or it wasn't defined at the time of my birth, but gradually I start identifying myself as a woman, then I am called a transgender woman.
Sure.
So likewise with the transgender women, transgender men, if their biological sex is female or not properly developed with proper genital or biological sex, but they identify them as a male, then they are called transgender men.
Sure.
So I think that is really important.
Sure.
And please don't mix transgender with the word she-male. She-male is associated with sex work and pornography, and it's counted bit derogatory in our own society, but not in West,
Sure.
But here a lot of people, they compare transgender with she-male. All transgenders are not she-male.
Sure. Sure.
That is really important part. And I want to convey a message that gender is not between our legs, it between our ears, here in the brain. So there is no x-ray or ultrasound or scanning of our soul and mind or feelings.
Sure.
I hope so there was some test. So this acceptance and awareness, I think there could be better opportunity for a transgender person if this x-ray or some scanning or some ultrasound report of feelings and your soul and body and emotions was there.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that's very powerful.
You're welcome.
But on a more personal note, you socialize, you go to a party. What would you like to talk about? Do you find people approach you that it's easy for them to come and talk to you about, say, I don't know, the weather, politics, sports, I don't know what else people talk about? Or do you find they have some difficulty approaching you and talking to you just as another human being?
I think because I look like a woman and most of people don't know about trans,
Right.
but I can't change my voice. Sometimes when I start talking, then people, they try to judge that she's a bit different. But I think I have come up as a role model in the society, and as you said, I've been representing Pakistan even in more than 26 countries. But I haven't been in Canada, I've been in US.
In the US.
Yeah, but
Oh.
I've been selected as a board of one Canadian transgender
Yes,
organization.
I think you mentioned
Yes,
that.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
So luckily, but
Sure.
there is my wish to know more people, more communities around the globe
Sure.
which are transgender. So yes, what I felt a difference, it depends upon where I'm going. If I'm going to a society or a area or a city where people are sensitized, or a party where people are gender friendly and they
Sure.
know about transgender, so their attitude will be totally different there.
Sure.
But if I go to a conservative area, or let's take example of KPK, if I go in KPK or in very conservative area, so I will start feeling very too much vulnerable
Right,
there.
right.
I will start feeling risk that
Sure.
my life is not secure.
Sure.
So because there have been a lot of violence related incident which happened in the past years, and a lot of people transgender, they have lost their lives in the result of that transphobia.
Yeah. You are doing some very good work in activism, both internationally and in Pakistan. Are you getting good support from the local governments, the federal government, in this area of transgender activism?
So, Dr. Saab, I have few dreams. And luckily, and I'm really lucky and humbled that my dad dreams they have fulfilled in my own life. I was expecting, if when I'll die, I wish these things will happen, but luckily this happened. A few of them are which I would like to share. One is the Transgender Protection of Rights law, which has been passed in 2018, and I was one of the key person who took that bill into Senate and National Assembly, and now it has been passed on the federal level, and it is one of the very progressive law of the world. Being a transgender activist, I can say it with confidence that our transgender rights law is one of the very progressive law in the world.
That's good to hear. That's very encouraging.
And right after when this law was passed, I am the founder of the first ever transgender pride, which I conducted in Lahore on the main mall road, and then we had a performance, a huge show at the end of that. We have a pride march, from the press club to the Alhambra on Mall Road. So these were the dreams coming true, and now we have a role model as well. But as you asked that, what is the government stance on this? So government is, I'm really sorry to say, if we make a plan but there is no implementation, it means that plan is zero. So unfortunately, there is no priority of implementation when it comes to government's agenda. I think they should keep this agenda on the top, and they should start, taking transgender community as an active citizen, and they should be motivated to implement their right as an equal citizen. That is really important. And another thing is, there is no rule of business. So, after 18th Amendment here in Pakistan, it's a province's responsibility either to adopt the federal law or either to amend and present their own, bill from other provinces. So recently we are working with the Ministry of Human Rights and Gender Mainstream to present the transgender rights law from the Punjab. So we as an activist on the grassroots level with the Ministry of Human Rights are doing consultation, and within few weeks it will be on the table on Punjab Assembly.
That's great to hear, very good to hear. Do you think there also needs to be work done? Let's leave the government aside. Can the private sector jump in? Can corporations jump in and help transgender not only rights, but help them with employment issues? You talked about a good support system within the transgender community. Would they be open to the possibility if larger companies said, we will give, say, 3% or 2% quota to employment to transgenders? Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think that's a bad idea?
It's a very, very great idea. I really appreciate your thinking, that you are thinking this way. But I don't know why people have a very different state of mind when it comes to transgender. Why they take them for granted? In a lot of shows, in a lot of platforms, even in the media, when they invite celebrities who are male, female, they pay them heavily amount. They bear their expenses, they bear their tantrums. But when a transgender come to a place, they take it for granted. Okay, she's a transgender and she's coming, and they take a sympathy factor. There is no equal opportunities, there is no equal respect, there is no equal support which they are providing. And doesn't matter, I'm not talking about the corporate level, I'm talking about all the chain from bottom to the top. Even if we are going as an artist to perform on a stage, so they will show the sympathies that look, you are transgender, we are giving you space, you are coming to share your story. But when if a female artist is coming, they will pay them 1,000 rupees. So do transgender, they don't spend their energies?
Sure.
Don't they spend their time? So don't they share their expertise? So why this discrimination? It needs to end, and they should be given the same respect and importance as they give to male and female people.
No, I think that's understandable, and I would agree with that. But the question really was, then does a quota system for transgender actually encourage discrimination?
No, it's my answer is so much related with this. This quota system will change when their mindset will be changed. You know, because the mindset will leads to making policies, planning, and development. So if their mind state is not ready to accept them, to give them importance, so how they can create a big space in their organization for a transgender people?
I see. All right. Well, thank you for talking to us.
welcome.
I think this has been a good learning process for me also. And I hope our listeners have learned from the message that Jannat Ali has talked about. But before we end, is there anything that you would like to share with our listeners or with people in general?
Thank you for asking. I think that is really important to spread a good message about transgender community, and word of mouth really counts. So I'm always there for those people who don't have who never got an opportunity to interact with the transgender. So I'm there on social media with Jannat Ali official, so they can find me, or if they have any queries they can anytime ask me.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And thank you all for listening. That brings us to this end of our episode. It was a pleasure for me to listen to what Jannat Ali had to say and to her message. For myself, at the end of the day, it is not about whether you are a male, female, transgender. It is about being a human being. So the human emotion, the human existence is the same for everyone. There are developmental stages of our growth, whether it is emotional, physical, sexual. So I think it is a responsibility for all of us to treat every human being the same. With that, I'd like to end our session. Thank you for listening.